Hello and welcome to www.luxurytolast.com. Today I want to talk about watch collecting and dealer sharks. Now, as any watch collector will know, you've got to deal with dealers, and it's also, you've got the internet now, so you've got to know your shit. Now, the thing is this, I've come from I've been interested in watches for 20 years, so 20 years ago is 1991. And since that time there, the internet's blossomed, and I love the internet. I think it's fantastic. I don't think it's a negative. You've still got to know dealers, and when I was learning about watches, what I used to try and do is I always wanted to learn how to sell and how to buy things. And I'm a salesman. I'm a salesman from a long way away. And people say, oh, I don't like sales and this and that. Well, let me say this to you. Everyone's a fucking salesman. When you ask that girl out to dinner, when you ask that woman who became your wife, hey, would you have lunch with me or would you have dinner with me, you're selling yourself. So everyone's a damn salesman in this world, which is fine. To learn how to sell things, well, I've done many unorthodox things. At a very young age, I bought myself a new BMW. And what I then did was, as a technique, I went to all these prestige car dealers, Audi, Saab, Mercedes-Benz, and I pretended I wanted to trade my BMW for a vehicle that they had for sale. And that taught me how to sell. I learned what tricks do they use, what do they say to clinch the deal. Now, I had no intention of getting out of my BMW, but I wanted to learn how to sell. In watches, I've taken the same approach. I've gone to many dealers and said, look, I've got these watches here. What will you pay for them? And I wanted to learn how to sell and how to buy. And this has been a great education. The thing is, the things that I've learned from buying and selling is that no matter what you've got, the dealers will try and lowball you. So the first dealer trick is, number one, is the dealer will say to you, how much do you want for it? And the reason they say this is, well, I'd always answer and say, well, how much do you want to pay? Because the dealer knows what something's worth. He knows what he can sell it for, and he knows what he should be able to buy that for from a fellow dealer. But he wants to see whether you have an unrealistically low price, which he can pay immediately, or he wants to know where you're coming from. So that's a bit of a tricky question there. I think it's I must admit, when I was buying myself, the first thing I'd say is, how much do you want to pay? How much do you want for your watch? Number two is with the dealers themselves there. No matter what you had, it was the wrong thing. For example, I'd go to a dealer and say, look, I've got a Rolex Submariner, which is one of the hottest sports watches known to man. And he'd say, oh, look, there's a lot more demand for Datejust. So whatever I had, it was always not the flavour of the month. And that's the trick the dealers use there. No matter what you've got, it's shit. What they've got is wonderful. And it's just complete bullshit. But it's their shtick. That's how they sell and they buy things and they deal in things. And then that's just how life goes. So you've got to accept whatever you've got is crap. Whatever they've got is wonderful. And don't get conned into that shit. But that's a very interesting thing. The next thing is, no matter what happens, you'll learn that these dealers will try and lowball you. Oh, you don't have papers. What a shame. That hurts the value so much. Oh, actually, I do have papers. Oh, and then all of a sudden it changes. And they will grab onto anything to pull a piece down. They'll always knock a piece. They'll say, oh, it's a bit scratched. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Now, condition does play an important factor in the pricing, but what you often find with these fuckers is that it has a huge pricing no matter what they say. And I mean, that's just how it goes there. So that's some tips for dealing with the sharks there. The other thing is, look, you've got to be savvy. If you're buying or selling a piece, you need to know what the fucking thing's worth. There's no point going into a swimming pool full of sharks unless you know exactly what it's worth and what you should get for it. And with the internet, you can see what things are going for on eBay. eBay is fantastic. It's got a search history. You can see what things are selling for other dealers. Now, just because a piece, for example, I've got a Rolex Explorer. Just because you see it on eBay for 5,500 doesn't mean it's worth 5,500. That's what someone's trying to sell it for. Now that may be an unrealistic price, but if you look around and see what pieces have sold for, it gives you an indication. And obviously, a lower quality one, if it's missing the bracelet, it hasn't got papers, it's got a bit of a scratch here, well, that'll be a lot cheaper than a factory fresh mint box papers, never worn sort of piece. And but it gives you a guide. That's what you've got to do. You've got to have information. If you don't know what the fucking thing's worth, you're going to pay a very expensive lesson by the dealer educating you, and then you find you've been stung. I mean, at the end of the day, knowledge is power, and it takes years to learn watches. His job is not to educate you. His job is to make money, and that's the simple thing. His job's to make money. Your job is to get as much as you can, and that's how the world works there. I hope you've enjoyed this advice here on watch dealing sharks, and please continue to watch my videos. Give me some feedback if you like this type of video. Tell me what ways you'd like my watch collecting videos to go, and I'll try and see if I can accommodate them. Thanks very much, and don't forget to come to my free information website, www.luxurytolast.com. Thank you.